Hey guys, welcome to NitroRCX.com. Today we're going to be doing an installation video. Basically, we're going to install some tires and a new brushless system into our Madspeed drift car. We have the Madspeed drift car here. Like anything before you're going to do, you want to make sure you get your tools ready. We have our drill bit here, 2.0 millimeter, 2.5, 1.5 millimeters for that pinion gear on the motor. I also have a tool to remove the wheels. I did mount it to a drill to make things easier, and we have a soldering iron in the back. What are we going to install? Well, we're going to install some tires and wheels. It is a drift car, so it does have drift wheels on it. We're going to be doing a brushless system, and we're going to be doing grip driving. So we have rubber tires. We chose kind of an all-season tread for the pavement we're going to drive on. Lots of different styles of wheels and tires and tread patterns on NitroRCX.com. We have a link below. Definitely check that out. And we're going to install our brushless system. Flash Motor, pretty new product line for NitroRCX. Lots of different turn ratings and KV ratings from short course trucks all the way up to 8-scale motors. This is a censored brushless motor, and we're going to install that into the Madspeed and see what kind of speeds we get. For the ESC, we're going to use the tried and true Hobbywing 120 amp. We are using the 120 amp because the flash motor we're going to install is a 5.5 turn, 6800 kV. It's going to be drawing a lot more amperage, drawing a little bit more power. So we're going with the 120 amp to keep things nice and cool, make sure nothing overheats. We're going to have a speed gun, we're going to get some speeds, and let's get right to the install. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is remove the brush system out of the car. I took the body clips off. Just your standard Madspeed brushed system. Your ESC is right here, brush motor's right there. Grab your trusty tool, 2.0 millimeter, and go at it. There are nuts on the bottom of these screws, these really long screws for the pinch bolts on the motor. They will fall to the bottom when it's loose. So you want to make sure you don't lose those. I move my motor pinch right there. You can see one of the nuts fell out, the other nuts captured inside. Oh no, that fell out too. It's actually down here. Okay. Next thing you want to do is remove the cover. There's 6 bolts or 6 screws. Go ahead and undo those. All right. So once you have those screws removed, remove this top plate, this cover plate right here, set that aside. So once you have those removed, your motor just pops out. Remember how it goes on. And your ESC kind of just pulls out. It is the case is double sticky taped on there, so you kind of just need to pull it out. Sometimes you may need convincing with maybe a flathead screwdriver to get it off. And make sure you know that your ESC plugs into channel 2. Note the orientation, the black wire is towards the outside of the box. Unplug that from your receiver, and your ESC system is off. So there's your motor plate. Grab your 2.5 mil hex, get it on there. Remove your motor plate. There's a little washer that's underneath these bolts. Make sure you don't lose that. Set that aside. You can set your brush motor system aside. Now you have the essential components off of your brush system. Let's move on to the brushless system. Beautiful looking motor. It's kind of got Inferno orange case on it, 6800 kV. This is a 5.5 turn motors. Just take the ESC out. Make sure you get all the other wires and stuff with it. So if you have your on-off switch, your receiver wire, cooling fan is installed from the factory. You have your capacitors that you water solder on to the negative and positive terminals. If I can get it out here. Just open this up. And they supply you with some pre-tinned wires, which is pretty cool. 12 gauge wiring, soft silicone tube wiring, so it's nice and flexible. What else do they give you in here? They give you some zip ties for wire organization. You have some heat shrink, 3M double-sided sticky tape. Of course, in the instruction manual, you do want to read that if this is your first Hobbywing ESC, how to program it, how to set it, especially how to set it for lithium batteries. If you're going to be using lithium, you do want to make sure you have the right LiPo cutoff, and you have some cool decals right here. So let's set this aside. Get a nice clean work area, and let's begin to solder the wires onto the motor and onto the ESC. All right, so before I begin to solder, I'm just gonna kind of determine where my wires are gonna go, so I can determine which way I'm gonna solder them. So my motor is gonna sit like this, my speed controller is gonna sit right here. You can solder the motor wires this way or that way, depending on which way you're gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and solder it this way, and have it kind of loop back towards the speed controller. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it that way. It's always good to do a bit of planning before you go ahead and solder everything so that everything fits right. Notice how these connections, they are plated, but they're not pre-tinned. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-tin those. I'm gonna tin these and then go ahead and start soldering. One trick I like to do with the motor, instead of holding it around, you can either vise it up into a vise and hold it there, or just grab your wheel. It kind of sits perfectly in there. It holds the motor from moving around. It's a nice little platform to solder on. Go ahead and turn on your soldering iron. This is the type of soldering iron we're using at the shop, adjustable temperature, which is nice. And make sure you have the right solder. So I'm gonna go ahead and pre-tin the connections on the motor. Let's get a blob on there and get it to stick. I'm running my soldering iron at about 750. All right, so I have the blue wire on the A. You just want to make sure you get a good bond, make sure it doesn't come off. If you're going to be doing some drifting, if you're going to be impacting into other things, you want to make sure you have a good solid connection and that your wires don't come loose. Because if they do come loose, you're not going to be going anywhere. Make sure you have a nice solid soldering point. Make sure you get it nice and thick on there.
Go ahead.
Go. All right, so I have A, B, and C soldered. Make sure you have a nice, good blob and that it's nicely collected. All right, so we're going to go ahead and solder the motor wires to the speed controller. I have a vise mounted here. It's not necessary, but it's just easier for me to solder since I don't have another set of hands, and so the ESC doesn't move around on me. So remember, before we want to make sure A, B, and C corresponds to the proper places on the speed controller. If you notice, it goes A, B, and C from left to right here, and we'll notice it goes A, B, C, that's far left, middle, and right, going across. So blue is going to go here, or my orange wire is going to go there, my yellow wire is going to go to C. What I like to do first again is just to give it a pre-tin.
And I'm going to repeat the rest, and then you just jump.
I'm going to go ahead and flip the ESC just so I can get better heat transfer to the contact points. Alright, so once you have that nicely set in there, do the same for the other three, A, B, and C, and then we'll move on to our positive and negative wires. Alright, make sure red goes to red, black goes to black. Definitely don't want to reverse those connections. And melt it on. Alright, now once that's on, you want to make sure you solder on your capacitor. And you just want to blob it so it sticks. Do the same. Give a nice tug. Alright, she's good. And you want to choose your connectors you're using. Over here at Hobby Parts, we like to use banana connectors, which are 4.0 bullets. You can go with your Deans, your EC3s, or whatnot. We're going to put bananas on there and go ahead and install the system onto the car.
Go ahead.
All right, so I went ahead and cut the wire shorter so there's not too much wire going on underneath the body shell. All right, so we have the motor and ESC all soldered up, ready to go. Battery wire is on there. Pinion gear selection. You always want to go with the lower pinion gear just to be safe. We have a 27 tooth, which is stock, a 24 in the middle, and a 17. I'm going to go ahead and be bold. I'm going to throw the 27 in there. If I find that my motor's overheating, I'm definitely going to switch down to the 24. And if that's not enough, I'll go down to the 17. You definitely don't want to go too extreme. You don't want to go too low, or else you're going to top out. It's kind of like driving around in second gear. Or you don't want to go too high, which is kind of like driving around in fifth gear all the time, especially from a stop. When you take off, acceleration, it'll suffer. Your speed controller is going to overheat. So I'm going to throw in the 27 teeth in there and see how it goes. Let's go ahead and get this system installed. So we're going to go ahead and first install the motor plate back onto the motor. Make sure you orientate the wires the correct way, because the wires are going to be facing upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on. Grab your 2.5 mil and screw it on. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Just kind of go lightly until you feel it catch. Get that snug. All right, now you want to go ahead and pop your pinion gear on. I'm just going to go ahead and snug this down. I'm not going to tighten it yet, since we are going to have to do some gear meshing. I'm going to go ahead and plug my sensor cable up, so it's going to be less difficult to plug in later. Go ahead and plug it on the ESC side as well. Go ahead and drop your motor in. All right, notice how when you rock the motor, you're going to be playing with the mesh. We'll do that in a sec here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and line up the pinion gear with the spur gear. Make sure that's nicely aligned. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put these on the motor pinch. I'm going to pinch the motor down, try to get the best mesh I can before I go ahead and cap everything off. Remember, your motor pinchers have 2 nuts on the bottom. Make sure those are on the bottom so it actually catches something. All right, now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get a good mesh. It's a little too tight. Back it off a little. We also have a video on how to mesh your gears. Basically what I like to do is I like to hold the pinion gear and kind of rock the spur gear. I like to have just a little bit of play, just a tiny bit of play. Some people like to do the paper method. If you do this a couple times, you can kind of feel out if it's going to be too tight or too loose. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and snug it down. Mesh is important. You don't want to go too tight or too loose, or else you destroy your spur gear. Check the mesh again. Still good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and bolt this down. All right, once you have that in, go ahead and double side sticky. I kind of did a good peel off last time, so I can reuse this tape. I'm going to go ahead and reuse it. I'm going to go ahead and stick it this way. Fits nice and snug right there. Make sure none of your wires get snagged on the center drive shaft. Go ahead and plug your ESC wire into channel 2. I'm going to do a little thing I like to do, which is basically just kind of wrap the wire, get it a little more organized. That way you don't have wires all over the place. Get that into 2, make sure polarity is correct. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same for the steering servo. Now you have your capacitor and on-off switch. I'm just going to go ahead and mount the capacitor, let's say up here. All right, so I have the system installed. I'm going to go ahead and install the rubber grip tires on it. Okay guys, so it's all set up. I got new tires and wheels on there, grippy tires. I have a 5.5 turn brushless system in there, 120 amp Hobbywing ESC. We're gonna run it on 2-cell and 3-cell. The setup is pretty much the same. None of the suspension adjustments were made. Besides one thing, I do want to adjust the droop screw. Since we are going to be outside on pavement, I want a little bit more ground clearance to clear little pebbles and rocks. As the setup comes from Madspeed, it is very low for drifting, for very smooth conditions. Adjust the droop screw to raise it up. Basically, it's these 4 screws on each arm that adjust how far your suspension arm can move downwards. I'm going to go ahead and back them out a little bit so that my suspension has a little bit more droop, a little bit more movement, a little bit more travel, and that's gonna give me a little bit better handling outside on rougher pavement. Ideally, you want to measure both sides and get the right amount of adjustment from front to rear and left to right. Hi guys, just a quick run of the Flash 5.5 motor and the Hobbywing 120 amp. On the Hobbywing 120 amp, we're using the stock settings right out the box. We haven't adjusted yet, haven't done any adjustments. We did raise the ride height of the car a little bit, which seems to handle pretty good out here. One things I don't like are, I would want the steering to be a little bit more controllable. It's got way more speed now, so any type of little bit of movement on the steering wheel makes the car kind of sway left and right. I'm probably going to upgrade the radio system. That way I get dual rate and exponentials on the steering. As far as the speed, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to check motor temperatures, but we are going to do more adjustments to the ESC. Stay tuned for that video. We're going to have a full running video and more updates to this car. Keep tuned guys. Thanks for watching and subscribe to nitrorcx.com. We'll catch you guys later.